Okay, I'm back. I have. All right. I decided I was going to go back to the full screen as opposed to having the chat going down the one side, down this side, because my intention really is to make all these videos and then edit them down into more bite-sized things, and with a chat running down one side make it a little difficult. So anyway, I have the pattern I'm going to use for Zoidberg. I still have to make the bottom, the plug, which really is a circle. Big donut, as Josiah was saying. I added a nice little addition to my shop infrastructure since the last time I posted, and that is, I don't know if I can show it. As I start each live stream, I've been having to take my keyboard and turn it and put it in the back, but I added a drawer to my keyboard, my thing, let me see if I can see it from there. I don't know if you can see it from here. So yeah, I got this little thing that comes out and I can get my keyboard on and just put it away, so I don't have to worry about that anymore. I'm getting myself into the 20th century here. Okay, so there's my circle. It's not an exact circle. You know what? I think I'll just... and actually, I need to go in a ½ an inch anyway. So I want it to be like a plug at the bottom. I don't know where my arm's going to go up through yet, so I won't figure that out just yet. I used to have one of these trays, these retractable trays from my old computer desk that I got the tray originally at the Container Store years ago. And so when I realized I kind of needed one again, I went over there, and of course they don't sell them anymore. So I had to get one on Amazon. But to my credit, I did order it before they went back on their their thing, their tariffs thing. Okay, there's that. There's that. There's that. I'll figure out where that hole will go, but in the meantime, I'm going to make it out of this EVA foam that comes from the Harbor Freight garage mat, which is fairly easy to use. It's also more rigid than your EVA foam that you get like the cosplay stuff, which I have plenty of that too, but I don't think it'll be rigid enough. And I have some L200 that might be rigid enough, but this is fine. I love how I just throw stuff on the ground. I'm going to cut this out of my bandsaw, though. I am streaming, right? Oh. I have a Zoidberg body donut times 1 1/2-inch EVA foam. Today is 4/29/25. There'll be a hole here someplace, so I just want to make sure that I leave room for that. I'll transfer that when I install it. Okay. I suppose I could get a little bit of a view of me. Let me see if I can get a view of me sawing here. It's real off in the distance, but you probably won't be able to hear me. I'm going to put down my fence. Usually I have a lot bigger piece of foam I'm trying to do. Not this line at all. Okay, I did a miserable job of cutting this out. I may cut out a new one, but at least I got one now. Okay, we'll make a new body. I did kind of decide I was going to do. Hey Chase, I did decide I was going to do it out of L2. I mean, out of reticulated foam. I just think it'd be cleaner. Or easier to puppeteer, I guess, is what I'm trying to go for. I'll probably put a couple rings of boning in here. I'll put one on. I'll put one on the neck, and then probably one at the midpoint, and then one. I just want to make sure I have it on here in such a way that I can actually get both sides of it on here. This is just too big to work with right now. Let me see. See, I cut off I cut off too much last time I did this, so I want to make sure I had enough. I blew through so much of this in the last month. I'm going to have to buy some more, which I guess is good. Okay. Okay. It's funny. Laura Baldwin said she wished she saw my things live, and then I popped on, and I guess she's found other things to do. So I'm going to use green on this because I'm going to have his green shirt on under here, and I would have used red, but he's not going to actually have any skin on his body. I'm just going to use raw foam because I don't feel like dyeing any more fur or any more fleece. And as it is, I'm using a bunch of remnants now. My least favorite Melonpool character. Oh, that's a hard one. I kept them all around because they were all good characters. I knew that if I needed to do a gag about one thing, I could use any of the characters. Or, there were characters that it spoke to. Like, I knew that the way I could often use the same situation and do 3 or 4 comics based on how each character responded to whatever was going on. I mean, Ralph wouldn't respond the same way that Roberta would, or Ralphie would, or whatever. I think there was a lot of common ground, like some of the stuff that kind of made itself apparent while I was doing it was that, like, Ralphie and Mayberry were friends. Like they were actually they could actually pal around, but they had different points of view. So it was really a fun dynamic. Basically Mayberry could get into scrapes with Ralphie that he could never get in scrapes with Ralph. Even though Ralphie was as intelligent as Ralphie was, as Ralph and Ralphie were both the same intelligence, I could definitely, Mayberry's antics Ralphie would kind of go along with, and Ralphie would go along with, and Ralph would just complain about. And so that was fun. I mean, it was all the fun for me in writing it was the way the different characters, reacted to different things that were happening. Trying to think. I was shocked that the cat got as much play as it did, but I guess I shouldn't in retrospect now. Yeah, I mean, when I was writing it, the way I would do it, I kind of saw them as a family or as a workplace. What to do with the body? Boil and butter, right? Yeah, no, I think that's the clause, Kevin. I think guy, what was I even saying about? What was I rambling on about? What was I saying about? Yeah, I don't remember what that long tangent was about, other than I just I enjoyed each of the characters in their own way. I think Julia I liked better when she was actually dressed up as had her skin on, because all those wires were a pain to keep track of when I was drawing her. I had this Phantom Menace C-3PO figure that I would use every time I would draw her to try and keep her somewhat on model. Yeah, I think it was always like seeing the way the different characters would react to something. That was always the gist of how I wrote. Yeah, the go-to is always, oh, well, let's do a joke about how they're fish out of water or something. I never really did that. I was always about it was always about the TV shows I loved. Or whatever I was obsessed with, I could find a way of bringing into Melonpool. I was surprised I got as many time travel stories in, because I was really into Back to the Future and other time travels, and I kind of developed my own theory along the way. The idea of time being like a film strip, and if you changed one frame, then everything else after it would change. And I never heard of that being said quite that way, but that was the way I kind of operated with it. I mean, I always like spinning yarns with the stories. Like, I love doing gags, but I also liked just doing these wild stories that lasted for weeks and months, drive people crazy, or even longer sometimes, because I would take these long unscheduled hiatuses in the middle, leave people hanging. So I would get stuck on some plot line that I didn't know. What about you, Kevin? How do you approach writing your comic? I'm flinging pins all over this place. I can't write. You can write. I wouldn't say I was ripping off Calvin and Hobbes, but I certainly did leave. I did borrow a lot of of ideas from Calvin and Hobbes. Yeah, actually, I have a whole other book ready to go. I have well, it's about half done. I rebooted the strip in 2014, 15, something like that. I think 14, and then I did it for about 2 years, and I published one book. It was called Melonpool Redux, and then I also laid out the next half a book, because I was actively doing it. And what I would do is every couple of weeks I would compile the books into the next. So because I was trying to really be mindful of my publishing time, and I knew that I couldn't really afford to take a couple of weeks off because I was doing it daily again, and I was really trying to be consistent. So I would lay it out as I made them. And so I have a whole second book of those Redux books ready to go. I think each of those books has about 100 some odd pages in it, and I think I had 80 pages laid out for the second one. So I was pretty close to getting to the end of it. So really, that would be the next book, and I might do another Ultimate Melonpool because I have an idea of how to bring it all together. So if I were to come back, and I do think I'd come back. I think about it enough that I probably would do it. Oh, you are there. I just mentioned you. Hey, Laura. I think when I come back, it'll hopefully have enough of an audience to keep me interested. That's usually the problem, is I mean, maybe I'm a little bit wiser now. Maybe I'm not quite so worried about wasting my time. I mean, obviously, I'm not too worried about wasting my time posting all these videos every day. Okay. How did I come up with the name Melonpool? Well, when I was a little kid, I, believe it or not, didn't talk a whole lot. And my mom worked nights and my dad worked days. So I was 3 years old. And my dad used to have to try and he worked construction, so he'd come home and he'd have to take a shower, and I was like 3 years old, and he didn't want me running around the house, so he would basically, as he was taking a shower, he would yell, "Hey, who's that in my house? Is that kid from up the street named Mayberry Melonpool who in my house?" And I would come in and I would yell at him and into the bathroom and yell, "No, this is Steven. This isn't Mayberry Melonpool. I don't know who that is," and all this stuff. And so then when he was done, he could he at least knew where I was, because I was still arguing with him about not being Mayberry Melonpool. And then when I was 5, I had been drawing all kinds of characters. I was drawing the Snoopy, the Peanuts characters, and the Flintstones, and all the Hanna-Barbera characters stuff when I was a little kid. In fact, I have an article around here someplace of me when I was 6 years old in the paper, because I was doing all these drawings. And I remember it vividly. I was in kindergarten, and I told my mom that I wanted to do my own character. And so we started drawing on a little back of a piece of paper, and it was Charlie Brown's head, and it was Fred Flintstone's eyes. In fact, I can draw this out. This is how the original Melonpool. Let me get a piece of paper. All right. So this is how Mayberry started. Zoom it in a little. So the way Mayberry started was, took Charlie Brown's head. Zoom in a little bit more. Okay, Charlie Brown's head, Fred Flintstone's eyes, Snoopy's nose not colored in. It was Spock's ears, and his antenna. And I drew this mouth, and my mom said it looked too angry, so I made it into this little smile. And then I said, "Oh, he's a spaceman," and my mom said, "Well," and so we started talking about that. And as I was talking about how he crashed on Earth and in his spaceship, I drew a little spaceship crashed into the Earth. My mom says, "That'd make a great body." And I said, "That's a body?" She says, "Yeah, just put a couple of dots there." And so his original body was that. And I said, "Well, what do I name him?" And my mom says, "How about that name that your dad used to call you when you were a little kid?" And so he became Mayberry Melonpool. And about 3 weeks later or so, I was interviewed by that paper, and they had me draw something for them. Do I have it here? I don't know where it is, but I have a picture of me, basically the picture of me in front of the bulletin board with all these drawings on it. So that was where Mayberry started, and to this day, Mayberry, he still has that Charlie Brown. His eyes got bigger. He ended up with hair. I'm gonna put it in frame. Still got the Spock ears. And then he's still got the door from his spaceship. He still kind of puts his arms at his side like that. He ended up getting a pair of legs very early on, because I realized there wasn't much I could do with a peg leg. So that was kind of the beginning of Mayberry. He started his humble beginnings. So the short answer is he was the same. He was something to keep me entertained when I was a little kid. Yeah, they're still both around. My dad actually wrote the introduction in one of my books, introducing how Mayberry came about. How he came up with it. And he would just kind of combine words to make character names when I was a little kid. He told me, so his girlfriend's name is, or the girl in the strip, Roberta Smeffenpfeffer, was another one that he came up with. And his He said later that that was based on it was a name that I think Danny Kaye used to use in some of his live performances. So Roberto Pfeffer is actually something he didn't came up; he just kind of plagiarized. And I always worried that there was some episode of the Andy Griffith Show that was called like Mayberry's Melon Pool or something like that, but I don't know. I never found any evidence of that, so I guess I'm safe. I'm gonna glue this guy up. That's pretty toasted. What I find with this dry fast reticulated foam is that it does hide the seams a lot better than the regular upholstery foam does. It also seems to stick better and be a little bit stronger. But it does break down if you have it in the sun or in the ultraviolet light. So I always try to keep it in a dark place when I'm not using it, and cover it in the actual puppet if I can. I mean, that Mayberry I have is all made with this stuff, and I made him in 2014, 2000, yeah, like 2014. So he's lasted a good 11 years. I'm not going to put his donut in. I'm just going to pin it in at this point because I still don't know where it goes. You know, where I want it and where I want the hole. I have to change it to this. Oh, I forgot I redid that. There we are. Let me see what I'm doing. I'll put that hole in the donut in a second. I'd never heard it called that before. I've never actually put one in, but I have built puppets that I've had to safety pin because the opening at the bottom was too big for that boning ring I had. I just feel like reticulated foam is worth the extra money just to make up for the lightness. You know, like it's quite a bit lighter than upholstery. It doesn't rip as much, but it is about 4 times as expensive. So there's that. Okay. Let me put that fan on too. You know, because it's not hard enough to hear from here. Okay. Ah. Yeah, I was just trying to use up the last of that nasty glue, which had so much hair in it left over from that Max puppet. I couldn't believe how much hair was in that thing. Especially at the bottom, I was able to, every time I pulled it out, there was another big gob of hair. Make sure this. Okay, let's see. I'm buying a respirator. Do you have a recommendation? So the way I got this one is I stole it from BJ. Not really. When we were closing up the shop, I had one and he had one, and he had two, and he said this one was better than the one that I had. So this is a GME. It was MSA 1611. I have another one here, which I haven't opened. It seems to have opened itself, actually. This one is... Oh, low battery. Where's that coming from? This one? Let's put it off that one. Okay, well, I'm not sure why I'm not getting the battery getting charged on this thing. Maybe I got unplugged at some point. Okay. This one is a 3M Cool Flow respirator. And like I said, I haven't used this one, but see, it has this thing literally just opened on its own. I got it for Christmas, and the other one still was working, so I just was using that one. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I couldn't tell you. Paint protection. 30. I mean, this one's for painting. I mean, like I said, I don't know how. I should do some research on that to see how good it is. But my suggestion to you is to just steal one from BJ. Yeah, so the one that my parents got me is a 3M. This other one is a MSA, whatever that is. I don't know what type of filters it has in it. I should do some research on all that. I probably should have kept it on longer too. It still was pretty nasty in here. Oh my gosh, I'm just dropping stuff like crazy. So I try and keep the registration marks lined up as I do this long seam. Okay. And this thing, I should have marked what the front and the back were. That's the front. Man, it doesn't fit at all. Look at that. No, it'll fit up a little bit higher than I wanted it to be. I may end up cutting this out again, because as I was cutting it out, the blade kind of drifted a little bit, and it didn't really go where I wanted it to go. So this might just be my pattern. Okay, so there's his new body, which I don't know why that little V-neck thing happened here at the top, but it'll get fixed when I do the boning up here. So I should try and figure out where the hole needs to go. And I'll glue this when it's in the final stage. I don't feel like gluing it and having to just rip it out. Oh, okay. Yes. So that was 16. Was it 1611 as well? Yeah, 1611. Okay, so it looks like pretty much dead center where that's going to go. And I want it to be smaller than the ring here. So I'm going to use this, which I'll maybe show you. It's just the top off of this thing, this container of these little clips, which I use all the time. These little binder clip things for sewing. I think a lot of what I do is just me taking a chance on these things rather than obsessing about the little details. I probably should obsess over some of these details a little bit more, but It's a small metal coffee can to put into some like the sleeve, which helps during hand stitching. So do you leave it in when you after you finished building, or do you just use it while you're fabricating? Because I've seen some pictures of like Ernie in production, and he's got a coffee can in him. And I always wondered if that just stayed in, or if it was while they were building him. I think I'm going to recut this one out because it's not quite the right shape, but I'll do that off camera. Oh, just while stitching. I use a it's a plastic thing I got at a 99-cent store that seems the right size. And I originally bought it for something else and ended up not using it for that, but it was the exact size I needed to put the head on when I was working on Miss Piggy, I think. Okay. Look at how nice off center that is. Doesn't really matter. Like I said, I'm going to rebuild this. I think I'm still going to put the boning at the bottom here and at the top. Okay. All right. Let's see how this thing goes together. So yeah, that works pretty well. Appropriately Zoidbergy. I think I might bring in that a little bit. Actually, maybe bring this in a little bit. Make it a little tighter up here. Yeah, I think that'll, and then maybe a little bit in the front. I'm just cutting it, and then I'll kind of mirror the cut on the other side, and then I'll add or take that off of the pattern. So I took off this little V in the back to kind of give him a little bit more of a hunchback. Somewhere there's another hook here. Ah, there it is. Right there in my eye socket. I'm going to get this out of the way so I don't get glue on it. I've got too much of a humpback. So I could be futzing with this all night, and I probably will be. But that's way too much of a humpback now, so I'm going to fix that. I think it's going to be just kind of smoothing that out. Should have grabbed a green pen. So I take out that wedge there, and then that should bring that in. That'll just about do it, I think. See, I try to get these things ready to go when I, final when I have the pattern, but not always able to. But I'll tell you what I am going to do. So you can see now, that'll bring that in to where it needs to be, like so. And actually, we'll give him just a little bit of a butt here. Go. A little bit of an upturn to it. Let's see. I'm just talking in gibberish now. Okay, let's smooth this out. Okay, so now this will pucker in a little bit there and give him that little bit of a spine, which will help a little bit. Okay, so let me glue that up. Anything else that needs to happen? Okay, I have no idea what I've cut off all this, but let me adjust this pattern because okay. So cut off this part here. I'm going to cut this part off. That. And I have this part. So that goes like so. Okay. So I just wanted to make sure I didn't lose that part of the pattern. I don't often make those changes that late in the process, but it needed it. So. Oh, thank you. Well, I'm almost done as well. I'm never thought of using boning. Great tip. Thanks. Yeah, that's something BJ used to talk to me about, used to do. I used up a lot of their materials, their boning, when I was first in the shop. Point where I would go on eBay and buy the roll because I was using so much from the shop. Definitely buy it by the roll because you'll use it enough that it'll make it worth it. So his body's going to be green. Well, it's just going to have the shirt on it because I don't have enough fabric to do his whole body. I got to turn that fan towards me. It's getting really quick. I don't have enough fabric for the body, so I'm gonna just do the covering on it. Okay, so now that needs to come down. Up. We've got a little hump, which is nice. That'll get evened out. All right. So that's his body as it is, and I think that's probably pretty close to what it's going to look like. I'm going to put a bevel here, and then that'll be for the boning. Use reticulated foam before. The puppets I make usually go from time spent in a van or long trips throughout Virginia being stored in a garage. Not sure if the cost is worth. Probably not. It honestly, I just I use it more on my personal puppets, I guess. And I will sell some with using the regular upholstery foam, but I don't know if I can. Usually the heads will at least be made out of reticulated, and usually the bodies will be made out of either reticulated or L200. I almost did this one at L200, but then I was thinking it's so big, and if there's any movement at all in this thing, it'll just be a big rock. So I thought it'd be better to have it be a little bit flexible. So I'm going to cut the bevel in this, and I just go around and cut it at like a 45-degree angle all the way around. Cut that corner off. And I'm using my foam scissors, which are my old sewing scissors. They got dull because I forgot and used it for foam. This foam and paper will mess up your sewing scissors. I'll do the bottom too. And you can turn the whole thing wrong side out, and it's a little easier to cut this bevel. And this ring is basically acting as the third bit of boning that I would have put in. I'm not even sure that this boning at the bottom is even necessary, but I'm committed now. So you could buy it by the yard, and it's usually like $1 something a yard, or you can get 12 yards for like $6. So it's worth getting the $6 one. And I use nylon 1/2 inch. with a cotton sleeve, or might be some other material, but I think it's cotton. Okay. All right, I got that bevel all taken care of. Get my boning. I get to start a brand new one. This is .13 and a half. So I want to do about 15 inches for the boning because it overlaps by about an inch. I'll do 16. Found this same nectar, but forgot what it was for. So I had the CU's once, which reminded me what the darn thing was for. Seeing you use the Persona blade reminded me I need to buy more. Yeah, you go through them pretty fast. It's always a bad idea to try and use them longer than they're useful. My grandfather always used to say, you never cut yourself on a sharp knife, you cut yourself on a dull one. And every time I've cut myself, it's been on a dull knife. I'm going to cut like 1.5 inches off of this. It's the inner part. I'm leaving the cotton part longer. And I fold one going up ways and one going down ways, and I sandwich the two together at the size I needed around here. This might be a little short. I might have cut a little too much off. And just barely. Really should have been about 17 inches, I guess. All right, I'm going to take a clip and just clip it together. Call it a day. And then this one, it's big one. This is a whopping 34. So I'll do 37. And that's how you use up a lot of boning. Okay. Okay, I'm going to take out about 1.5 inches of this. Fold it over. Fold it out. One up, one down. They overlap by about 1 inch. Put that in there. Trying to maneuver it into place. About like that. And I'll put a clip on it. And then I'll sew these guys up. 2 clips on it. Good measure. Who puts his contact cement on a clean plate? Mustard. You know, I see a lot of people use a mustard bottle. I have a mustard bottle that I've never put it in. I used it one time at the shop, and it was a really good way to use it for putting in a mouth plate. But I've never used it since, so I should probably get that going. I'm always afraid I'll not use it enough that it'll just dry in there. So I don't know if that was something he came up with, or I know there's a lot of builders that you do use a mustard bottle to put their barge in. I usually I used to just put a little. I used to take it and I used to put a little on the edge here and just go from that. I don't know why I don't do that anymore. And I used to use a piece of leftover foam to daub it on with. I don't know. Sometimes I still do that. I'm doing a bang up job here. I'd get for using an old piece of thread. This doesn't really have to be completely done perfectly. It's just enough to keep it to get from undoing itself. Okay. Good enough. How does he get it into the bottle? I think he might thin it out a little bit and put it in there. I mean, the biggest thing is to make sure that the barge won't eat the plastic that you're using. So do a little test first to make sure it doesn't eat it. We had some in a solo cup one time on a job I was working on, and this other puppeteer and I or fabricator and I were working, and one of us noticed that the barge was pink. And we're like, oh, look, it's I didn't know this was tinted barge. And then it dawned on us both that it was eating through the bottom of that solo cup. And we got it over the garbage just as the bottom fell out of it. Oh, it was awful. So I think that what he does, I think he used to just thin it out a little bit, and then he could kind of goop it in. And then you can pop the You can. I have seen that. It's so funny. I have seen that that mustard bottle. I can't tell you how many times in the shop in here as I've moved stuff around, and I just went to go where it's been for probably 3 years, and it's not there. So I have no idea where that mustard bottle is. I was going to show you how the top pops off of it. Turn that off real quick. Turn that off real quick. Have this giant ring that's not going to support anything. What would you use to thin it? There's stuff called barge or contact cement thinner. If you look it up online, you can find it. The same company that makes the contact cement also has thinner. I should buy some. I was told that the barge that I had was way too thick, and I should be thinning it. And I could have gotten another year or so off of that last can of it, but I didn't. So you can find it. It's about $15, I think. Excuse me. So I'm just pinning this on right now just to make sure it fits. And it does. Do the other one. Oh, I didn't. I think you can get a smaller one. We never used very much of it. I'm not sure what the ratio is. I'm way too worried about thinning it out so much it's unusable. I don't know though. I go through a thing of barge about every 6 months, so I don't feel like I'm using that much of it. I'm always happy when I get to the steps part of the build where I've stopped having to glue. Okay, well, that's good to know. One of these days I'll try it. I've tried to be better about using my respirator. I usually just do it outside, but definitely don't want to. That stuff's pretty nasty stuff. If I wasn't videotaping this, I would go outside and do it. just because I think it's probably safer in the long run than exposing my dog to it or me to it over extended periods of time. But I'll suffer from my art to teach you guys how to use this stuff. Yeah, I agreed. Same way. I'm more worried about my dog than I am about myself. Okay, so that's that. If I can get it in there. I may need to put a little. Ah, it's okay. I thought I was going to have to maybe cut a little tab out of this to make it fit. Not that you guys can see any of this, but okay. So now that's where the rings are. There's a ring down here. I'm going to glue all this, but I'll do that off camera because I'm not really feeling it right now. Yeah, that's the other thing that's good about reticulated is it's so porous and it doesn't rip as much as the regular foam does that you can sew right into it. So what I do is I'll run contact cement around both the boning and this, and then run a whip stitch all the way around and all the way around this, and then basically that'll be done. Once I think I'm gonna go outside and do the gluing for this part, and then I might come on later and pattern it, or I might do it tomorrow. We'll see. Well, thank you for popping on. I'm glad to have finally gotten on here when I was building, and I will see you guys next time. Hopefully, I can get to the arms. I mean, I actually am probably going to be working a good chunk of tomorrow on that other project, but I think probably the next time after that, I'll be at least trying to figure out the arms and the hands. I may make the rods tonight since I have to paint them overnight. And I want to be completely dry before I get them anywhere near this foam and fleece. So anyway, again, I'll see you guys next time, and thanks a lot for tuning in. Hey, what do you got? Keep your thread from tangling wax or yeah, all good advice. I'm a terrible. I never think to get any wax, so I should probably at least do that. Alrighty, I'll see you.